I don't think I've ever felt this kind of exhaustion watching Chelsea lose to Arsenal. It's not even frustration anymore. It's something deeper than that. It's like you already know how the story is going to end before the game even finishes. Chelsea go to the Emirates, we compete, we have spells where we look organized, we have players stepping up, we look capable of actually getting something from the game. And then something always happens. A decision, a red card, a moment of chaos, and then everything just collapses. And then you sit there wondering how the same script keeps repeating itself over and over again. This loss wasn't just painful, it felt similar. And that's what worries me the most. What's up, everybody? Fouad here, back with another video for your Chelsea versus Arsenal matchday review. And I'm just going to start there, guys. I'm going to start with that Declan Rice incident because this is the moment that honestly left me stunned. Rice was in the box, bear hugging Jarell Hato, right? His arms make contact with the ball. He prevents Hato from actually getting to it. It is clear interference, clear contact with the ball. And somehow it's not given. Not by the referee, not by VAR, not by anybody. It's as if like they just ignored it happened. They brushed it off. And look, I understand that the referees make mistakes in real time. Like, that's normal. That happens every single game week. That's part of football. But VAR exists to correct those mistakes. That's its literal purpose. And when VAR actually looked at the moment and brushed it off, decided that there was nothing there, it creates serious questions about consistency and standards in this league. Because let's be honest, we've seen penalties given this season for far less obvious situations. It's difficult not to feel like Chelsea are constantly on the wrong side of these moments. And when you combine that with everything else that's happened in this game, it becomes pretty hard not to ignore a pattern. So obviously that situation sucks, but if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves as Chelsea fans, we can't hide behind refereeing decisions completely. Because that Pedro Neto red card was another example of something that is becoming deeply embedded in this team. This is now 10 red cards this season across all competitions. If we're truthful with ourselves, that is not bad luck. That is not coincidence. That is a cultural and a mental problem in this team. So for today, that first yellow card came from Neto reacting emotionally after Timber's goal. I mean, I get it. That's understandable. You know, football is an emotional game. But that second yellow shows a complete disregard and lack of awareness and discipline. At that point, your job is to survive if you're on a yellow. Your job is to stay on the pitch. Your job is to protect your team. And instead, we put ourselves in a position where Arsenal suddenly had control of the game again. That's completely unacceptable because it shows that this team lacks emotional maturity, right? It lacks that discipline in key moments and in tough situations. I mean, we're becoming Red Card FC at this point, right? And the worst part is it doesn't even shock us anymore, right? It actually feels normal. And that's when you know something is seriously wrong here. And I know today it was Pedro Neto, but this is not about just one player on the squad, guys. This is about the mentality of the entire team. Chelsea constantly put themselves in these positions where we just lose control of games. And even when we're competitive, even when we're organized, even when we have momentum, we just find ways to sabotage ourselves. This was another game where Arsenal didn't dominate us. They didn't need to, right? They didn't need to overwhelm us with anything. We actually gave them the advantage. And this is what separates the elite teams from the fragile teams. Elite teams manage the moments. They stay calm, right? They stay disciplined. And right now, Chelsea look emotionally fragile when it comes to big games. And that's a very, very difficult thing to fix because mentality is not something tactical. It comes from the leadership, it comes from experience, and it comes from your culture. And this is why when you look at it, Reece James's performance tonight stood out in a big way, right? He looked like a leader. He looked like someone who understood the magnitude of the moment that he was in. He was composed. He was aggressive. He was intelligent on the ball, and he delivered quality consistently throughout the game. He just looked like a player who belonged at the very top level of football. And for me personally, and I know for many, many Chelsea fans, it's super frustrating to watch him put in those type of performances week in and week out, and the team around him continues to just make costly mistakes. Reece James represents what Chelsea should be: strong, composed, and intelligent. But right now, he is surrounded by a team that is still learning how to control themselves in big games. And look, I mean, I know this sucked. I mean, nobody wanted to see this kind of result from a Chelsea's perspective. But there were some positives in the game, right? And we shouldn't really ignore all of them, given, obviously what's happened in the scoreline. Jurel Hato, he had an excellent performance today against Bukayo Saka. He stayed disciplined and limited one of the most dangerous attackers in the league at such a young age, right? So that's something that we need to highlight, something that we need to acknowledge and talk about, right? Mamadou Sarr was another one. Like, he looked calm, he looked composed. That deflection, obviously, for Arsenal's first goal was unfortunate, but his overall performance showed maturity, and that's something I really want to see continue for him personally. And João Pedro, like, he deserves credit tonight, right? He battled Gabriel physically and showed real presence in that attack. It's not easy going up against Gabriel or the likes of Saliba, who are big, strong guys, but he did well, right? So he deserves that credit tonight. These situations or these instances, they're obviously signs of progress, right? Which is good, and you want to see that with a young squad. But progress obviously means nothing if you cannot control, some of the decisive moments in the game. And that's something that we lacked and something that we really need to fix. And obviously for today, both of Arsenal's goals came from set pieces. This is becoming a huge, serious issue for Chelsea. I mean, set pieces are all about, concentration. They're all about, organization in the back line. And they're about controllable situations, all right? And I just feel like when you're consistently conceding these from set pieces, it reflects a deeper structural weakness, right? Champions League teams do not concede goals like this repeatedly, right? And if we want to be considered a top team, a Champions League team, we got to be able to defend set pieces confidently and consistently, right? And if Chelsea want to return to becoming a big, big club and winning trophies, I'm talking about Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, this has to improve immediately. We cannot have this issue every single week. So I'm looking at, our set piece coaches. I'm looking at maybe potentially Rosinha, how you're working with that. And I'm just looking at the organization in general. Are we bringing in players who can defend set pieces, who are strong enough to defend set pieces? Or are they just getting bullied, right? So that's something that we need to look at as an organization. Otherwise, this is going to continue. And when we look at the bigger picture, guys, I mean, like, we're sitting in 6th place right now with 10 games remaining. We've played 28 games. I know Arsenal, this was their 29th, but this was our 28th game. We have 10 games remaining in the Premier League. And this is going to be a defining stretch for the season, right? We have Manchester United, Liverpool, Aston Villa. These are teams that are competing for Champions League qualifications with us. They're trying to lock up that 4th and that 5th spot, right? One of us is not going to make it, right? So when you think about it, Chelsea cannot afford to keep dropping points like this, right? And this is where it just comes back to the broader concern about this ownership group, right? The squad construction, and the leadership, right? Beginning to surface. Because right now, this team still lacks that emotional control and that maturity required to consistently win big games, right? And coming down the stretch of the season when we need to collect as many points as possible, it's going to be tricky, right? And this is going to be hard, right? Because at the end of the day, guys, this is not about talent. This is not a talent issue. We have plenty of talent in this squad, right? This is a structural issue in how this team was constructed. The most frustrating part, obviously, about this loss is that, we weren't outclassed. And I said this before, right? We were competitive. Like, we had strong individual performances in the Reece James, in the Jarrell Hattos, in the João Pedros. We showed resilience, right? But once again, discipline, decisions, and key moments went against us. And until Chelsea can fix that, this cycle will continue, right? This team has the talent to compete at the highest level, but talent alone is not enough, right? Mentality is what wins you championships. Discipline is what wins you championships. And control in big games is what's going to win you those trophies, right? And Chelsea right now are still learning those lessons the hard way. So that's all I had for today, guys. I mean, let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on today's game? Do you still think that we're not progressing at the speed that we should be? And let me know about those controversial calls about, Declan Rice today. Shouldn't have that been a penalty? I personally think so, but there's a lot of people who are going to argue that it wasn't. This was just a tough loss, man. I hate losing to Arsenal. We always lose to Arsenal, but, all we can do is continue to support the team and hope for the best. So up the Chelsea, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.